Hey guys, this is your host Thomas Tyree here from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this will be the Combat Series episode number 126 for you guys today. And to kick off the Combat Series this week, I'll be sharing my fight prediction for the main event of UFC 322 between JDM and Islam Makhachev. So JDM will be defending his welterweight championship against Islam Makhachev in the main event of UFC 322. Now, before we get into the fight breakdown, I just want to give Dana White and the rest of the UFC executives their credit for creating a colossal 322 card. The main card is stacked from top to bottom. It's got everything you want for the entire duration of the pay-per-view card. You can't make a better pay-per-view, in my opinion, better than what we're going to get Saturday night at the Garden in New York City. So I just want to give Dana White and the rest of the UFC executives their credit for creating such a great card to close out 2025. We still got 323 coming in December, but this is a great card for the month of November, finishing 2025 strong. But let's get into the storylines heading into the main event of UFC 322 here. First storyline is, can Islam Makhachev become a two-division world champion? Now, we all know that how dominant Islam Makhachev has been at lightweight. He had 4 successful title defenses when he was the lightweight champion, and his resume at lightweight and what he's done over the last few years has helped him become a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC today in the men's UFC pound-for-pound rankings. But, again, the most successful title defenses by any world champion in the lightweight division in UFC history with 4 successful title defenses. Now he's moving up to 170 at the welterweight division and looking to become a dominant champion at the most stacked division that the UFC has to offer. Yes, I said it. The welterweight division is loaded, stacked from top to bottom. Now you insert Islam Makhachev in here. You got JDM, Belal Muhammad, Kamaru Usman that's still around, Leon Edwards, Carlos Ortiz, Ian Gary. Like the list goes, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Like the list goes on and on. Sean Brady. There's so many top tier names at the welterweight division. And if Islam Makhachev can come in and defeat JDM, become a 2-division world champion, and look to become the king of the most stacked division that the UFC has to offer today, look out. But we'll see if he can take care of business Saturday night in the main event of UFC 322. Next storyline is, can JDM have his first successful title defense? Now, there is a motto in the world of combat sports. I mean, obviously it's not a real thing, but it's a myth. If you don't have a first successful title defense where you are a real champion to begin with, or were you just a paper champion? For JDM, yeah, he won the welterweight championship against Belal Muhammad earlier in the year in a well-earned victory and a hard-fought fight for him. Congratulations, JDM, once again. But to be champion, you got to have a first successful title defense in combat sports in my eyes. So there's no bigger title defense than fighting a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter, Islam Makhachev, in the Garden in New York, Madison Square Garden in New York City. Doesn't get much bigger than this, but we'll see how the champion JDM handles the pressure under the bright lights. Now let's get to the tail of the tape here. Tail of the tape, starting off with the challenger, Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev has 27 victories, 1 loss to his MMA career. 5 victories come way of knockout, 13 submission victories. Currently a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter. Stands at 5'10" with a reach of 70 inches. Then I'm looking at the champion JDM. JDM has 18 victories, 2 losses to his MMA career. 12 victories come way of knockout, 2 submission victories. Currently the reigning defending welterweight champion in the UFC today. Stands at 5'11" with a reach of 73 inches. So the height and the reach goes in favor of the champion JDM. We'll see if he uses his height and reach to his advantage over the challenger, Islam Makhachev. Now, let's get into the game plans for these respective welterweight fighters to follow if they want to walk out of Madison Square Garden with that coveted welterweight championship. Starting off with the champion here, JDM. I think JDM is going to have to be alert defensively. Now, I think that could be one of the key reasons why JDM could possibly pull off the upset and retain his welterweight championship if he is alert defensively. He's got to stuff the takedowns. We know Islam Makhachev, his bread and butter is in the wrestling/grappling department. He's got to be able to stuff the takedowns, keep the fight standing as long as possible. Don't let Islam Makhachev get in a rhythm by trying to take the fight to the ground. He's got to circle around the octagon. What I mean about circle around the octagon is he's got to fight in different lateral movements. His footwork has to be on full display. He cannot be a sitting duck for Islam Makhachev as the fight goes on. He's got to keep moving around, keep Islam Makhachev second guessing on what to do next offensively, and he has to have quick head movements to avoid the big strikes that Islam Makhachev could possibly land in that octagon. So I think being alert defensively, again, stuffing the takedown, circling around the octagon, the head movement, avoiding the big strikes could be a reason why JDM could possibly retain that welterweight championship. Next, I think JDM is going to have to establish the power here. JDM is a powerful striker, guys. I mean, he has 12 victories come way of knockout. You don't get that by accident in an MMA career. So he's a powerful striker, strong, effective counter puncher, a strong, stiff jab. We've seen that when he took the title away from Bilal Muhammad earlier on in the year. And he's also good at mixing in the leg kicks as well. He's a pretty stiff leg kicker as well and make his opponents feel it as well. So I think JDM is going to have to establish the power here. Again, with the effective counter striking, the strong, stiff jab to keep Islam Makhachev off of him and mix into calf kicks, the body kicks, and possibly some head kicks to keep Islam Makhachev second-guessing what to do offensively. And last but not least, JDM can never forget this as long as the fight goes on. Fight his fight. He has to fight his fight. When he fights with confidence, this is the best version of JDM that you get. When he fights with confidence, he puts the persistent pressure on his opponents, fights in different lateral movements, and keeps the fight standing. That's the best version that you'll see out of JDM. So if he can stay calm, cool, and collected, fight his own fight, stuff the takedowns, fight with confidence, put the pressure on Islam Makhachev, walk him down, and fight in different lateral movements and keep the fight standing as long as possible, he could walk out of Madison Square Garden with that welterweight championship. So that's the game plans I have for the champion, JDM. Now let's get into the challenger, Islam Makhachev here. Islam Makhachev's going to have to put the pressure on JDM. Do not let JDM get going offensively, because if you let JDM get going offensively, you could be in a world of trouble, especially from someone that's moving up from lightweight, getting a taste for the first time at the welterweight division against a powerful striker like JDM. And I think he's going to have to walk down JDM. I think Islam Makhachev's going to have to put his foot on the gas pedal and never look back. He's going to have to control the pace of the fight, put the pressure on him, set up traps to hit the home run strikes if he wants to have a chance against JDM in the striking department. Next, I think Islam Makhachev should land the takedowns here. I think that should be a bread and butter strategy. Fight at his pace of the fight. And I just said the same thing for JDM. But if Islam Makhachev can fight at the pace that he wants, this could be something that he could easily take away the title from JDM. Bold take there. But hear me out. If he could fight his fight, wear down JDM with the wrestling, and take him down and wear him down, get the ground control, mix in the ground and pound with some strikes on the ground. I mean, Islam Makhachev is one of the best grapplers that the UFC has to offer. 13 victories come way of submission. Shoot for submission to wear down the champion. And last but not least, for Islam Makhachev, use his well-rounded skill set. He's top 3 in the world today. Wherever you have your pound-for-pound rankings, I think Islam Makhachev should use his championship experience, his striking abilities, his MMA IQ, grappling skill set, and he has the championship experience over JDM because Islam Makhachev has been in there with Charles Oliveira. He's been in there twice with Alexander Volkanovski. He's been in there with Dustin Poirier. He's got the advantage over JDM in terms of having an MMA IQ and the big fight feel with the experience by his side compared to the champion JDM here. So I think these are pretty good game plans that both respective fighters should follow if they want to walk out a Madison Square Garden with that coveted welterweight championship. But there can only be one winner here. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev to defeat JDM by decision to become the new welterweight champion in the main event of UFC 322. Now, this will be an absolute banger at Madison Square Garden. It's going to be a competitive fight. And honestly, a good comparison for this fight, I honestly think of that high-level championship fight that we saw 2 years ago, the first fight that we've seen between Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski. I think this fight is going to be almost, I'll say, just as close as that fight was 2 years ago. That's how special this fight's going to be between Islam Makhachev and JDM. But I think Islam Makhachev's going to be the winner here. He's going to win the counter-punching battle. It's going to take a lot to win the striking battle against JDM, who's a powerful puncher and has a feel for this division. I mean, Islam Makhachev's moving up for the first time, but I think he's going to win the counter-striking battle. He's going to control the pace of the fight. Islam Makhachev's going to fight his own fight and be in control of the fight offensively. He's going to land the takedowns. He's going to have to take JDM to the ground. His wrestling and grappling skills are going to come into play against JDM. He's going to land the takedowns. He's going to get control on the ground, gain some control time on the ground, mix in some ground and pound strikes. Could possibly be creative shooting for some submission finishes against JDM. But I just think this is going to be a competitive fight. I don't see anybody finishing anybody off, and I think Islam Makhachev's going to do enough to get the decision victory to become the new welterweight champion. But that is my UFC 322 prediction between Islam Makhachev and JDM.